Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Boy, we have some great real estate stories for you today. Where the heck does all the stuff go? You've heard of junk removal, right? This is a little bit more. We have a special treat for you today. Joining us is Jason Cesarski, aka the Junkster. Hey Jason, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
So Jason has a junk removal business here in Southern New Jersey, but there's a lot more to it. I'm finally getting to know Jason a little bit better. All I know is that if I call or text Jason because a particular client has a challenge getting rid of some stuff, Jason knows how to get rid of it. So, Jason, you're here in South Jersey, you have this junk removal business, and I know we don't like to use that term because not everything is actually junk, right? How does that work? So, kind of walk me through what this business even looks like. You know, everybody has too much stuff, which is great for you, right?
Yeah, it's great for me, maybe not for my wife, but yeah, it's great. Yeah, I mean, I get calls from realtors and clients all the time, or they're selling their house and we can't take this with us. We need to get it removed. I'll come in and say, okay, when do you need it done? Is it a truck full? Is it a dumpster full? I'll take some pictures. I kind of go over a few things. I try to save as much as possible from going to the landfill. I've donated truckfuls and to schools, to churches, to other charities, clothes and whatnot, Goodwill too. But I always try to save stuff from the dumpster. And then, when it comes to a job and I starting that conversation, I want the client to feel like they can trust me and I build that relationship before I do the job. So I'll have a nice conversation with them and we'll go from there. And then I think some of my work has proven that I'm not just the guy who comes in, throw stuff away and move on.
Yeah. So can we break that down a little? Can I slow you down? Because I'm curious. I'm sure everybody watching this is curious too. So you just mentioned, you try not to throw everything in a dumpster. So that can get time consuming, right? So if there's a house full of stuff, and the owners of that property say, Jason, I really need this gone. I don't care. I just need it gone. I'm selling my house. So your team kind of puts your eyes on it. And sure, there's going to be stuff that clearly has no value. But then there's going to be other things where you're looking at it and saying, hey, this right here, this stuff, let's stage a pile for Goodwill because these are clothes or recycling even maybe.
Yeah.
You do too, like maybe metals and different things too.
Yeah. So I have a guy that works for me who scraps. So that saves a lot of time or space in the dumpster. And when it comes to recycled stuff, like stuff that paint and stuff like that, you're not really supposed to throw paint away. You got to take it to Public Works. I mean, there's times where I filled my whole truck full of paint cans, and that can't really go in the dumpster. It has to go, somewhere. Oil and gas cans. Tanks, gas tanks, stuff like that. You have to take that somewhere else.
Right. So you could literally be at a property and there could be 5 different destinations for the stuff, right? The easy one is probably the dumpster, which might be sitting in the driveway. But then there's, like you're saying, there's the kind of we'll call it maybe hazmat stuff, like paints and chemicals have to go a certain place. Right. Metals go a certain place to your metal junk guy, right? A scrapper.
Yeah.
Donations to Goodwill, different things. How about ever come across stuff that's of any value?
Absolutely. And when I'm doing a house and I come across something that I believe the client still should have, let's say somebody passed away and it's like an award or a military uniform, I put it to the side. And if there's no next of kin, I'll just tell the realtor or whoever hired me, hey, let me know what you want me to do with this because this is like a military uniform and stuff like that. But other than that, I've definitely come across stuff that's worth some money, and people are just throwing stuff out and they don't realize it's still got some value to it. Coins, swords, video games, sports cards, you name it.
So what's like, what are like the top few most interesting things that you may have come across? Doesn't have to be the most valuable, but
Right.
interesting. And keep it clean. This is, for everyone.
No, of course. I would say like sports stuff. I would definitely say like Michael Jordan cards, Magic Johnson. I had a fair share from a guy who actually works at the link, and he works with the Eagles, and he had stuff in his house, and he's like, "You can have it." I was like, "Really?" He's like, "I don't need it. I've had it. I just don't need it." And he had jerseys from different sports teams because he was like a minister for different sports teams, and he just had Nike shoes that he was never using, and I was like, "You sure?" Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I always tell my guys, when you find things in a house and you think it's worth money, it's probably worth money. Put it to the side. If I don't want it and you want to keep it, sure. Just make sure you run it by everybody that may, may want something. Video games especially, they're buried in attics.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I might have some too, now that I'm thinking about it. Pretty interesting. So how did this happen? Like, just like real estate agents, I don't think anyone in my business said, "Hey, when I grow up, I want to be a real estate agent." I mean, maybe a few, but not too many. So I suspect when Jason was a little kid, you didn't say, "Hey guys, when I grow up, I want to clean out houses and find all the treasures." I suspect that probably didn't happen. So how did you end up owning this business?
I mean, when I was younger, I wanted to do something with sports. I wanted to play sports. Me and my twin always did something together. And I wanted to be on the radio. I wanted to be like a sports host. I went to school for it at Rutgers. It just, things didn't happen. Life happens. I had to sell my parents' house and move with no connections to a different state. And I would always be working in the restaurant business, and then working with contractors. And then I was like, maybe I could do this. And I started with something small, a small truck, small job, connection with realtors, and just kept working, expanding my Rolodex, as you would say. And then here we are almost 4 years later. So
it's like, it's interesting. So it was not like an epiphany where you woke up one morning. And I think that's actually the most interesting kind of way to get into something, because mine was kind of like that, obviously different, but a similar transition. But you didn't wake up one morning and say, "Hey, I want to own a junk removal company and clean out homes." But you kind of came across an opportunity along the way where you're like, "Oh, okay, I'll try that," and it was interesting job, I guess. I don't even know if it was a job. It was like a favor, whatever. What was it? A favor? It was just a little side gig, right?
Yeah, it was a side. Everyone nowadays talks about side hustle, and that's what it started out as. Yeah, if I make a few hundred removing stuff from one truck, and then dumpster, and then full houses and full churches in Atlantic City and different states. I mean, it's not all me. My guys work really hard for me, so I got to give them the credit, because there's a lot of stuff. I've torn my bicep. They had to step in and do my part in the work, and they've really done a lot for me. So
yeah, I would imagine there's definitely danger in this. In fact, I want to share this with everyone. You guys watching this, check this out. This is a couple of months ago. Jason actually helped us on our team, and you can see, oh, there goes a shed. So there is it's on a loop here, so you guys can really pay attention to what's happening there. But that was about a 200 square foot shed. All right, that was a big shed, and you really came through for us on that, brother. That was a really tough situation that we had with that house.
Yeah, it was probably the hottest day of the summer, and we were out there for about 5 hours. And I would say the only thing with this shed was there was a wasp nest in the window that you can't see. Sort of, you can see it on the right there. And we had to make sure that we took care of that before we knocked down the shed and they came out and attacked us. So that was kind of a interesting running from the bees situation. So
Yeah, sorry about that. We didn't know.
no, it's all things like that happen all the time, you know?
Yeah. So like this is like, I'll tell people the backstory on this one. This was an really interesting one from a real estate perspective. So we had a transaction that was getting close to closing. We were getting and we were finalizing the certificate of occupancy from the township. And unfortunately, and this happens more times than not, the township had an issue with where the shed was placed on the property. And there was all kinds of stories and variances and unfortunately a lack of documentation that could be found in a short period of time. So buyers agreed that they didn't care about the shed. And because of the way the property sat, there was no way to move the shed, which sometimes is an option where we can move it 4 feet this way and you're good, was not an option. So it was either don't sell the house or you got to do something with the shed. So the buyers didn't care. The seller said, I understand this stinks, but we have to deal with it. I reached out to you and you drove by there. I mean, literally it was like on a Wednesday or Thursday even. And, you know, you quoted it. I let the seller know. Seller gave me the thumbs up. And I think you had the dumpster there Friday, and that video was taken on a Saturday.
Yeah, Friday, Saturday, and dumpster removed on a Monday. So yeah, it was quick. I mean, I get those calls all the time from realtors. I just did a job in Lindenwold, and I've done several jobs for this realtor, and she's like, "Oh, this house needs to close by Monday. There's all this stuff left over in the yard, in the garage, in the house. Can you drive by and kind of give me an estimate and get it done before Monday?" Sure. I went there. I was like, okay, you know, there's situations at every house. You never know what you come across. And there was 4 ducks, domesticated ducks running the property. But we got it done, you know, and we got it done Friday. I ordered the dumpster Thursday. We got it done on Friday, and then they just picked it up earlier this morning. So, you know, wow. Yeah, calls like that all the time from any realtor. You know, they, you know, hey, we need this moved. We need a couch removed from the basement last minute, or else the house isn't going to sell. I don't want you to lose money, so let me do this for you. And everyone makes a little bit of money, you know.
Yeah, you know, removing a sofa and a love seat and an old coffee table is a lot different than an attic full of junk and a shed, right? Or I mean, you know, obviously there's different. You know, something can get done. Sometimes things will take you guys 20 minutes to just knock it out, and then others you probably spend days in a property.
Yeah, there's been, you know, like I said, every house has a story, and you know, the worst situation was, you know, we had to wear a hazmat suit, and the house was left to decay, and it was animals that had passed, and it was the worst thing I ever saw. So yeah, I mean, you got to be prepared for that stuff going in, you know, knowing what may happen. So you got to be prepared with mask and, you know, gloves, and, you know, make sure everything is taken care of, because, you know, your health, you know, mold and stuff like that, you don't really want to mess with that stuff. It could become, you know, dangerous.
Yeah, it's really amazing because you see a ton of homes. I see a ton of homes. You know, we're looking at them with different eyes, obviously, but it never, I mean, all the years I'm doing this, it's like, I'm always amazed by how differently people can live. Everybody's different. Everybody has to live somewhere. But I think you probably noticed at this point with your business, you could be in the most beautiful neighborhood. You could be, and from the outside, the house could look fabulous. And then you walk inside and you're floored by what you see. And then just the opposite, you could be in an area that doesn't look so great. The house doesn't look so great. And then you walk inside and you go, oh, wow, this is a really nice house, you know?
Yeah. We did a house early on in Swedesboro, 5,000 square feet, beautiful house, beautiful property. And you go in, you're like, how do people live like that? Obviously, you know, you've been able to afford this house, but how can you live like this? You know, my friends ask me these questions all the time. How did someone leave their house like that? And I'm like, I don't know. You know, when my dad died 14 years ago, and I had to do this from my parents' house, my mom was already in a nursing home at a young age. And when people have someone that passed away, I wasn't able to do what I know now, business wise, what I could have done for all that stuff. And, when someone passed, I kind of can relate. We lost our dad. I kind of can relate to that. And, sometimes it's difficult to, for people to, obviously to lose someone, but to like go through that alone. So I try to be like, I've been there. I understand what you're going through. When you're ready, we could do this little by little, not all at once. It's overwhelming, for some people.
It absolutely is. I went through that personally too with parents of mine, my in-laws over the years, and my in-laws had a lot of stuff, and it's tough. It's tough, and I was obviously a real estate agent, and so I could try to take a professional, persona towards the process, but it's tough when it's someone that you know and love. Doesn't matter, so remembering those feelings is why you're successful. I believe that, because if as a professional, whatever you do, right, anybody out there, I mean, your business, my business, if you've experienced things that are similar to your clients at certain stages of your own life, if you can take a step back and realize what they're going through, and the empathy can kind of resonate and come through, and how you deal with that particular client, I think that just speaks volumes to them, and the energy just comes through. I really believe that, and people appreciate it. And it's tough. Yeah. States are tough.
Yeah, they're I get emotional just talking about it, because it's like, I've been there, I get it, and some people, they just need to like step away and come back when they're ready, so.
Absolutely. So guys, listen, Jason is here in South Jersey. You probably cover multiple counties, I would imagine, right? You mentioned Swedesboro, which is south. I'm sure you go north, right?
Yeah, we've done jobs from Trenton, Princeton area, a little bit of Ocean County, and then we've done stuff as south as Atlantic City, Carneys Point, and we've done jobs in Philly, East Norton, kind of all over. I don't, as long as it's not like a crazy 3-hour drive.
Yeah. I
mean, if the opportunity is there where we know we're going to get the job done that day, maybe 2-3 hours is kind of where we be out to get it done. Maybe we need to rent a hotel for the night just to get it done the next day. We haven't gone that route yet, but I've gotten calls about jobs in the Poconos, and I'm like, that's a long trip for removing something. It better be a little more than just one thing,
It probably wouldn't be worth it for them when you have to price out a job like that, right?
Yeah. I have a friend that's a contractor in the Poconos, and he's like, "Can we use you?" I was like, "It would have to be like a couple of day job for me to make sense." Yeah.
Otherwise, you have to charge them too much. Just, you're being fair. Guys, if you are within a reasonable distance, driving distance of South Jersey, and you have some stuff you have to get rid of, or a shed that needs to be taken down, as you saw in the video, you will be very pleased with Jason. And I say that because one of our biggest challenges living in this world that we live in is just getting a returned phone call. Right? That's why I have that tagline, the agent that always calls you back. And I've had that for a long time. It's worse than ever. Well, I can tell you that Jason will return your call or text. And whether you're watching this on social media right now or on YouTube, all his contact information will be below. And I'm sure he will contact you back in a reasonable amount of time if you need a quote or have a question about some kind of project for him. Fair?
Absolutely.
I think that's absolutely the truth about Jason. Jason, anything else we should know about what you do?
I mean, I've talked about this a little before. I don't know if it was recorded or not, but I always try to salvage not things from going in the dumpster. I donate a lot to schools, churches,
Very nice.
Charities. I have a charity in Philly that picks up furniture and they give it to homeless shelters that they need it for. So I always try to go that route first. And I think my reviews and my work speaks for itself. So, if, we're hired, they should know what we're going to do is the best. So.
Right. So I think that's an important point about how you operate. You're not just in this, you're obviously a business owner, you have bills to pay, you have a family to take care of, but it's not like any business owner. It's not just about you, right? You are always looking on the outside of you and what you can do for others. So part of your business model includes giving back, because that's what I heard you just say. You're giving back.
Yeah, always. Yeah. I mean, especially being in a community, you want to take care of what's in the community. So like I said, truckloads of books, art supplies to schools, the churches, my own church, I've donated tons of stuff. And they're like, we need this. This is awesome. Thank you. And then, it goes from there,
Yeah, it's an amazing thing. There's so much stuff that people can accumulate and you never really know. And, and sometimes I'm walking through a house and you're like, how did you end up with 12,000 albums of music? Like whatever. I mean, literally, I've seen stuff like that. I didn't just make that up.
Oh.
And you've seen that kind of stuff too. And there's some things have value, some don't. But kind of rehoming something rather than just throwing it in a dumpster and sitting in a landfill. Yeah. How do they say it? One man's trash is another man's treasure, right?
Yeah. I mean, I could say that, but I got to be careful. Sometimes people get offended by junk and hoarder and trash. So if they say it to me as they're our client, and then we go forward with that, but I don't say, hey, I'm here to remove your junk.
No, stuff.
I'll be kicked out of the house. So yeah.
And it's funny you say that. I'm pretty careful about that too when I'm meeting with clients and they're trying to get a home ready for sale. I never refer to their stuff as junk. It's not for me to say, unless they're calling it junk. But I usually say, hey, look, the truth is, if you've been in a home a long time, most of us have too much stuff, right?
Sure,
and that stuff is not all necessarily going to fit in the new house. So let's figure out what you're going to do with all this stuff. I have someone now going from a 3,000 square foot house to a 1,500 square foot house. So she's got a lot of stuff, right?
Yeah, I tried. Yeah, my wife said, don't bring it in the house. So I don't. I bring it in the garage. And my garage is pretty full. But I'm able to, sell some things and make some extra cash. And you never know when you need, an extension cord. I have about 100 of them. Come to my house. You can have one. You know what I mean? So.
Maybe you should sell some of them or give it away.
I do give some away to friends, especially when it comes to like the holidays. I got those green ones that you could put outside for decoration. So,
Yep. Awesome. Well, Jason, I appreciate you carving out time. I know you're busy and you're all over the place. So thank you for spending a few minutes to teach everybody about how to get rid of their stuff. Jason's contact information will be in the notes below. Please take a moment if you're watching on YouTube to subscribe to our channel, like this video, and share this video. I would really appreciate it. And stay tuned for another episode of Real Estate Stories very soon. Thank you, Jason. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you for the time.